That's right. Welcome to Out of Bounds tonight as we celebrate 100 subscriptions on YouTube. That's why we got, oh, you guys can't even see it. We have our cool party hats on here, or celebratory hats, I guess you would call them. I am Mike Lucio, the owner of Rocket Sports Cards, the host of Out of Bounds. What episode are we on tonight?
Number 6.
Episode number 6, our live Monday night program where we talk sports, maybe some stuff that other people wouldn't talk about in sports. Without further ado, I will bring Brandon in now. Brandon, the co-host for tonight, also wearing his ridiculous hat.
Yep.
Our hair is terrible.
Pointing right at Andre the Giant's package.
Whatever you want to do.
I meant to do that. It's just that's where the camera is.
Here, I'll move my camera up just a little bit just so you guys can... I'm not even showing up here. There we go. And I've got Connor McDavid poking him in the eye there. But anyways... a little bit of fun tonight. So we will run down what we're going to talk about tonight. Andrew, thank you very much for the sweet hat comment. As I said, we're at 100 subscribers on YouTube, so that's a little bit of a milestone for us. They sent us an email telling us.
Yeah.
So we're going to celebrate it. Next 500 we'll do something, maybe?
Sure.
500, then 1,000, and then onward. So tell your friends, tell your mama. Tell the school teachers, whatever you want to do. Tell everybody that we're on YouTube and make sure you subscribe. And while you're here, definitely hit that thumbs up like button. Floyd, what's going on? We've got our regulars online here. Say hello to us. Let us know you're on. So what we're going to talk about tonight. Topic number 1. We always have a 5-minute run-in for the start of the show here. For those of you maybe tuning in on the replay, watching for the first time, go back and watch old episodes. You guys will definitely enjoy it. We've kind of stepped away from the original idea of the show. It's still the original idea of the show with 5 10-minute misconducts. But we're not getting too much into the stats anymore. We're just kind of free-rolling it. We don't have any paperwork in front of us. It's just us talking sports now.
And I think the idea is that it helps you guys kind of jump into the conversation, and we prefer that you guys are part of the show and the whole interactive aspect of it. We like that a lot better, to play off each other, play off the chats and all that stuff. Just seems to work out a lot better.
But don't worry. We're still going to be. We're still looking up what's going on in sports. We're not just going to come on here and BS you or anything like that. We're somewhat educated on what's going on. We both follow sports pretty closely. So, what we're going to talk about tonight: sports betting. Do you bet on sports? That's going to be the first topic. So, I'm going to go off on that. I've got a major issue with that, and I'm going to prove a point to you guys. Maybe sports aren't even real anymore. Maybe the NFL is controlled by Vegas. That's what I'm saying.
I know you're really hung up on that. I know.
I just cannot stand it. Like I said, I bought a pro line the other day, and I went 6 for 6 picking the right teams. I lost by a point. Like, how do you? And on a $10 bet, it was only going to pay me $73. Like, how do you win? Like, how do you get rich off this? And there's people out there that bet all the time. I don't know how they do it. Professional bettors, but they always tell you when they win, but they never tell you when they lose. You ever notice that?
I imagine that they lose often.
Topic 2 tonight, leading with the NFL after that, we have Mitch Trubisky. Are his days over in Chicago? He got replaced by Nick Foles. So we'll get into that just a little bit. Steven Stamkos, are his days over in Tampa Bay? Plenty of rumors regarding that. We'll also touch on that tonight with the 5th topic. Topic number 4, something that's near and dear to me, kids in sports. Do your kids play sports? Will you make them pursue sports, or is it up to them? I've got a new baby boy, and I'll give you my opinion on it when we get there. NHL Trades. So, as you guys can see, some of the stuff's starting to heat up. Some moves are being made. Detroit picked up Mark Stahl. Basically, they got Mark Stahl and a 2nd-round pick just to take the salary. It was future considerations, meaning nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing ever really comes to that. They never. When a team finalizes that deal, Detroit makes another deal with the New York Rangers. It's not like, by the way, this was the future consideration. They never mention it. You ever hear that? They never mention it.
No.
So it's just one of those things like, just help us down the road type thing.
Backdoor deal.
Yeah. So, without further ado, it's almost 8:05, so we will get rolling with the sports betting. I'll let Brandon start off. Is there anything you want to say about sports betting before I go off?
Well, I assume that you're going to take on and run with this. So in terms of sports betting, I am not a pro line player. I have not played pro line in years, and I think when I did play it, I only played it maybe once or twice, and it was more just let's pick all the upsets and just see what happens. So it was more just fun money, throwing it away. I am involved in a couple of football pools, so I am picking winners, and I told you just before we went to air that I forgot to put my picks in for this week, so I'm currently 0-15, so probably not going to do not so great on that one. And the other one is a more of a just pick the team, pick a guaranteed win, guaranteed loss, guaranteed upset. Right now I'm currently first in that one. But
Survivor pool?
I've done Survivor pools. I love those. I did one when I was working at Sportsnet, and I was picking the underdogs. Me and another guy named Roman were picking the underdogs, and we lost Oakland, I think. Got us out in the 7th week, I think it was. Outside of that, though, I'm not looking at Super Bowl. I'm not betting on the coin toss. I'm not one of those guys that feels like I need to just bet for the sake of betting. So not much of a sports bettor.
So I find that people bet on sports to make sports more exciting for them. So that's a problem. When the game itself doesn't fulfill your need to be entertained, that's a serious problem. Obviously, gambling is a disease. You can't tell me it's not. I'm a slot machine guy. Like, I can tell you right now, sometimes it's really hard to leave. You win and you still want to play. It's just one of those things. Luckily with COVID, like, I can't gamble right now, so saving a ton of money. But it's a serious disease. So I know a lot of people out there are just completely addicted to it, and they play on your heartstrings too. So I for one don't bet on sports usually. Right now I'm staying at the cottage and I'm just bored out of my mind. So to kill 10 minutes, I filled out a pro line at Shoppers Drug Mart. It was just to kill 10 minutes basically. But here's what I want to tell you about sports gambling. Sports died when it was 28-3. Do you know what I'm referring to?
No.
The Atlanta Falcons were beating the New England Patriots 28-3 in the Super Bowl. That's the day that sports died. That's the day that sports became fantasy. Sports were taken over by Vegas or outside influence. And I'm going to tell you why. That's the day, the first Super Bowl, I believe, where they allowed in-game betting. I want to ask you guys out there watching the show right now, since that game, have you ever, we've all been watching sports our entire lives, have you ever seen as many massive, just out of nowhere comeback victories in sports? Like, I'm talking teams are down 20, 25 points going in the fourth quarter. The Bears were down the Bears were down 16 points with like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter yesterday. They come back to win by 4. Here's a better example. I believe Buffalo was up like 25-3 or 26-3 on the LA Chargers. So everybody dumps money on Buffalo. Everybody. The reason that this comes into effect. So Buffalo's up huge. I'm going back to the guy that bet $35,000 last week on the Falcons to win $1,000, because people have that kind of money and take that kind of risk when it's a sickness. Guy lost 35 grand on a sure thing. It's happening all over NFL right now. No lead is safe because I honestly think it's fixed. And if the players aren't in on it, it would surprise me.
I can't imagine that would actually be, and there'd be truth to that from the standpoint of somebody would have to say something at some point. If it was,
they'll kill your family. We're talking about serious stuff here.
I don't think there's got to be someone who could be an anonymous whistleblower if that was actually the case. Now, I do want to, like Floyd mentioned something about the refs. Like, I imagine that the refs could influence the game with a penalty here, a penalty there, a pass interference call. The touchdown that was not a touchdown yesterday because it was ruled an interference call, or not an interception in the end zone and a touchback when they called back Nick Foles on one of those touchdowns that he did yesterday.
Floyd brought it up. The amount of double digit.
I don't necessarily think that it has anything to do with rigging the games. I just think that the coaching and the adjustments that
not a chance. So I knew you might bring that up.
They're just better.
I knew you might bring that up. And here's what I want to bring up about So they always say in the NFL that at halftime they make adjustments and they come out, and then sometimes you see a flip in the game. Okay, the games I'm talking about, that didn't happen. There was 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Up until that point, the Atlanta Falcons were dominating the Chicago Bears. The Bears defense couldn't stop them. The Bears offense was doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom, Nick Foles is a star. He's selling T-shirts in Chicago, and they just won a ton of money in Vegas.
But for all of those players to roll over on the Atlanta Falcons, can you like?
What do you?
I can't imagine.
You honestly think they care?
Well, I would imagine that they would. They're playing.
Okay,
a game.
he thinks that the Atlanta Falcons care.
I think they're playing a game to win. Like, it doesn't make sense that they would just roll over.
So I'm in huge disagreement with Brandon here. I'm going to tell you why. 28-3. We'll go back to that. 28-3. The coach wasn't fired. He was up 28-3 in what, the middle of the third quarter? Didn't run the ball to run the clock out. Literally, like, threw the ball 3 times and punted for the rest of the game. So you're telling me that they didn't give the Patriots every opportunity to get back into that game? That's when sports died, folks. Was that game. In-game betting killed professional sports.
I don't agree with that. Well,
he's saying it right now.
Atlanta's saying it right now. The first team to do it, I know.
I'm not talking about Atlanta doing it twice. I'm talking about Atlanta doing it in the Super Bowl. And if you go back and watch that game, they're not even upset. Matt Ryan's sitting on the bench like, oh well.
But they're also professionals, and they know that they're going to...
If you're a professional, you got one shot to win a Super Bowl, and that was his shot. I'm smashing my helmet. I'm breaking TV cameras. I'm doing everything because that's the coach. And if it was the coach, I'd go up and punch him in the face. Well, at some point, as a player, if you play to win, you know what you got to do. And it's not throw the ball 3 times and take no time off the clock.
But they have an image to maintain too, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Otherwise, you get branded like an OBJ.
Okay, right? And he's still getting paid.
Oh, he is still getting paid, but I mean, he's also...
So what does Matt...
Look at like a Leonard Fournette, for instance. You got these guys who run their mouths inside of the locker rooms, and they get ostracized. And they nobody wants them on a team because they're not the team players like that. So there's no... The volatility, particularly of football players, and let's be honest, the mental capacity that some of these football players have, somebody at some point would open their mouth and say, yeah, we fixed that game. Yeah, that was rigged. Like, I can't imagine that it would be rigged, that all of these players, coaches, and all that stuff would know.
And there you go. Floyd brings up another example. There's just too many things that happen, and football's the worst. Big Al brought up that basketball, point shaving is big too. You telling me that's right? Marshawn Lynch didn't say, "Hey, give me the ball."
But they knew he was going to run.
It doesn't matter.
They knew. So you set up for the run, and you think they know that we're going to hand the ball to Lynch. They're going to plug the middle up.
No, you still do it.
And then when they spread it out, and the play, like Malcolm Butler made that interception because he was yelled at. He got yelled at from the sideline for Malcolm to step up.
Hey, Malcolm, it's time to intercept the ball. That's what the script says.
I don't imagine that.
I'm just telling you, man. I'm just telling you. I didn't even really get to the Buffalo game. So not only did they get all the money from the Buffalo fans, they also took all the Charger fans' money too. Because the Chargers actually came back and looked like they were going to win that game. So now everybody, like, there's a minute left. Yeah. So now everybody's money's in the pot at the end of the game, and everybody loses. It's like Oprah. Everybody loses!
Yeah. And you're going to lose.
And you're going to lose all your money, and you're going to lose all your money. And what I'm saying...
Floyd, I know what you're saying. Everyone in the arena around the world who watched the Super Bowl knew that they were going to run it. They knew they were going to run it.
Because that's the play. They have the best power running back in the league.
I get that, but I can't...
And you know what it got them?
You have one chance.
You know what it got them?
One chance to get into the end zone.
Here's what it got them. It got them their next Super Bowl. They played ball. They got Brady another Super Bowl. Here's yours, Seattle. That's what it got them. The league said, this is what's going to happen.
The team could have just been that good that they could have gone back to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Like, look at the team they had. They had Marshawn Lynch. They had in his prime Russell Wilson. Look at they had Baldwin as a wide receiver. Like, I mean, they had lots of weapons.
Yeah, you gotta have real talent to get there. But what I'm saying is like, the path was there for them.
Well, yeah, but they were also that good of a team.
it's just there's too many ways to rig the NFL in my opinion. Basketball is just as bad as we've mentioned. The problem with the NFL is if they don't get it on this down, you just throw a flag and they get to try again, and that's how it works.
And I will agree that officiating is spotty.
All right, so it was the year before that Seattle won, so I guess I was wrong on that, but I apologize. But you guys cannot tell me that sports hasn't been a little bit iffy since the in-game betting came in. Just way too many massive leads blown. What I was going to get at, though, you can take my advice or you can't. If you're betting for the fun of it, go ahead. Like, if betting a pro line $20, $30, a month or whatever, $100 a month doesn't hurt you. When you start throwing thousands down on a game, especially with in-game betting because you think it's a sure thing, stop. Just you're not going to win in the end. But anyways, moving on. We went into a little overtime there. Mitch Trubisky, we did bring up the Chicago game. Is he done? Is his career over? That's what I want to know. I'm not talking about is he done in Chicago. It's 50-50. I don't think he's done in Chicago, and I'm going to tell you why. I think Chicago has two good quarterbacks or two okay quarterbacks. They'll play the guy until he loses. And I think that's going to be their mentality because I really think that Foles isn't the answer either. He might be a little bit more stable back there, but I think Mitch Trubisky is far more talented of an athlete as Foles, for one thing.
Maybe in certain areas.
He moves a lot better.
Yeah, he does.
Mitch has serious issues with his read of the defense, okay? Yeah. So we noticed all day yesterday, my father and I were watching the game, he always throws to his first option. He never switches his eyesight. So they know if he's looking this way, two more guys run over there to cover the receiver. He's throwing into triple coverage every time because there's no checkdowns with him. He doesn't know how to do that. Either he doesn't know how to do that or he doesn't have the confidence or think he has time.
I think it has something to do with the confidence. I think he needs to get that ball out of his hands as fast as he possibly can to stay upright.
He's terrified.
Oh, he is. I agree with you 100% about the fact that he's terrified. That's why I think Nick Foles is a better option for Chicago because he's played in bigger games and he has produced in bigger games than what a Mitch Trubisky has. Maybe in a couple of years, Trubisky will develop into a Nick Foles type quarterback, but Nick Foles' IQ is, I think, football better than what Trubisky's is.
Very popular topic. Everybody chiming in on this. Being a Chicago Bear fan, I don't think we've seen the last of Mitch Trubisky. Injuries happen. Nick Foles is injury prone. We will probably see a head-to-head battle for the rest of the season. I think it is now Nick Foles' job to lose.
I agree.
But Nick Foles might go 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in the next game, and then it's Mitch Trubisky's turn again, right, guys?
I think you give him a little bit more of a leash than that. Like, I mean, it depends
on how bad he looks. Yeah, okay, it depends on So Trubisky threw 2 interceptions yesterday. One was actually a touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other one was a jump ball with Allen Robinson. Like, it was a 50-50 ball. That's the point of it. It's a 50-50 ball. So the throws were where they needed to be. It was just that's the way the play's designed. So it was one of those interceptions I would blame Allen Robinson for, not Mitch Trubisky for sure.
Problem is that he threw it to him. Probably shouldn't have, though. I know you say the play was designed that way.
But that's the play.
Yeah, the play was designed that way. But Trubisky also has to see. He's got to be able to read the defense better than what he has been.
I think the problem with Mitch Trubisky is confidence. It's also vision. He's just not smart enough. But the main problem with Mitch Trubisky is the coach. So Nagy is one of the. If I were to say this as a Bears fan right now, they're 3-0, so it takes balls to say this.
Yeah.
He's the worst coach in the NFL.
That is a
for what he gets out of his players and his play game or his game plan and what he brings to the table. The Chicago Bears, I can't recall a time they've run a screen pass in the last 2 years. What team in the NFL doesn't run a screen pass when you have a guy like Tariq Cohen that can pinball like that? He is out for the year now, but I'm just saying, like, you've got Cordell Patterson that could catch that ball and run through traffic. You've got a ton of guys that can do a pretty good screen pass. Anthony Miller, all kinds of them. And he hasn't utilized that kind of weapon.
You know what the problem is, though, is if you think about the amount of time it takes to set up an effective screen pass, Trubisky's ball is already out of his hands.
Trubisky, if we, like I said, we're not looking at stats right now, but if I were to go back and look at stats, I don't think Trubisky's been hit that much this year.
No, but I think that just over time, it may be a shell shock thing. It may be just the style of game they want to play. They may want to play a faster game than what they have played in the past, and like I think the average quarterback holds onto the ball for what, like 2.3 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty short amount of time to read a field and throw. And I think when you said he goes to the first option, I think by the time he does his 7-step drop back, takes a look, he's already got to get that ball in motion, or he's going to get smashed. Like he doesn't. I don't think he has the confidence to hang on to the ball in the pocket and look at a second option.
But he is best. He is best when he moves.
Oh, for sure.
Like
he's a mobile
when he can throw,
Absolutely.
he can throw on the run. That's what he can do other than Foles. Like Foles doesn't do that as well. But here's the thing that really bothers me about the coaching there. Yeah, here's the thing about the coaching.
That's not hard.
So they've got Trubisky's not like a Kyler Murray or like a Deshaun Watson mobile.
No.
But he's pretty mobile for how big he is. After his first year when they went to the playoffs there, they literally made him stop running the ball. They're like, you're a pocket passer and that's it. So in yesterday's game, the thing that impressed me, and he could have done it 3 or 4 times, the defense just basically bailed. The receivers went wide. The entire middle of the field was open with the whole pocket for him to run. I'm yelling at the TV to run, Mitch. Like, just run the ball for the 15 yards. It's an easy first down.
Right.
He finally did it just before he got pulled from the game, and he ran for 45 yards. He ran for 45 yards untouched. So it's just one of those things.
That's a good point, Arlie. Yeah. Good quarterbacks can find 4 or 5 options in fractions of a second and get rid of the ball accurately.
So Mitch can't do that. That's what we're getting at right now. That's what I see. I don't think Mitch can do that.
But is that a talent or is that a development thing? Like, do you think that he could develop that?
He should have that skill when it comes to college. Like in college is the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, I'm the big boy, right? Brandon's about ready to eat cake, and I'm about ready to smash cake. Anyways,
way to throw us off the topic.
Tell us what you think. I was on Twitter. I obviously watch Twitter as the game's going on, and a ton of people, and I'm not kidding. A ton of people, as soon as Foles went in and came back in that game, a ton of people said the Chicago Bears are now a Super Bowl favorite. And I disagree with that because I've watched every game this year. I don't know what the team is. I don't know what they are. They play about a quarter and a half of really good football every game. If they could put it together, they're one of the best teams in football. But their defense is not dominant anymore, and that's going to hurt them in the end.
Well,
I really don't think their defense is dominant. Maybe they're just not in tune yet because of the no preseason. But they do not look good on defense.
Well, I don't have like Nick Foles' stat line.
You can't run the ball against them. That's the one thing.
Yeah, I don't have Nick Foles' stat line in front of me to know what his win-loss record is. But when he backed up Carson Wentz, he went like 16 games in a row to win. So to me, Nick Foles is one of those quarterbacks that's been underutilized and underappreciated. And honestly, when he won the Super Bowl in replace of Carson Wentz and started the season as strong as he did, there was that whole debate about whether or not they should keep him and get rid of Carson Wentz. And I don't think that because Philadelphia kept Carson Wentz and they traded away Foles, that Foles has actually had the opportunity to be the starter that he actually can be and should be. I think he would be a solid first quarterback, probably top 10, if you gave him the option. Like, if you gave him the ball consistently for the first little bit, I bet you
I don't put him in the top 10 just because I think he's an immobile quarterback.
He'd be lower top 10, but I think he would be in top 10.
I could name off guys right now that are better than him. Like, I could roll out. It'd probably be easier to name starting quarterbacks in the league that aren't as good as Nick Foles than it would be.
Talking Minshew Mania?
No, but like, it's a QB league now, and like, it's honestly there might be 10 teams that have quarterbacks that aren't as good as Nick Foles. So I don't think he's as high up. I think he's going to get the job done. I think he's going to... All you got to do on Chicago, if the defense can get back to being dominant, is just contain the game. All you got to do is throw 2 touchdown passes and have your running back play well, and you're going to win the football game.
Maybe that's a good way to put it. Maybe Nick Foles is a better game manager than what Mitch Trubisky is. Maybe he can manage the game a little bit better.
Well, even going back to the days of like Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton wasn't a great quarterback, but all he did was play good enough to win.
For sure.
So that's what Nick Foles has to do, and he's going to have that job in Chicago. Real quick, has Trubisky played his last game in Chicago?
No.
Will Trubisky get a starting job after this year somewhere?
Will they trade him after this year?
No, they won't. He's a free agent.
Oh, will he get a starting
Will he ever be a starter in the NFL again? A full-time starter?
He's still young. Yeah. Yeah, he will.
I'm thinking 3-4 years down the line, due to an injury, he will have success somewhere.
He'll go to Miami.
No, they've got Tua. They're going to ride Tua for at least 3-4 years. But I think 3 or 4 years down the line, there'll be a team that needs a quarterback. He'll step in, kind of like I don't even know who to use as an option. But he'll come in and take someone's spot for half a year, and then there'll be team like Teddy Bridgewater.
Well,
like Teddy Bridgewater did, and now he's a starter, right? So that's what's going to happen with Mitch somewhere down the road, but I think his days in Chicago are probably over as the bona fide starter. Sorry, Mitch. Up next, moving on. We were going to roll these two in together just because we didn't know if we could talk 10 minutes about one player, but
you guys did a good job helping us.
Yeah, you guys did a great job there with the questions. We're going to move on to Steven Stamkos. Has Steven Stamkos played his last game in Tampa Bay? This is also going to segue. We should put them together with the NHL trade talk. The season's not even done yet, but his year is done.
Yes.
And there are serious rumors out there that Steven Stamkos has played his last game as a Tampa Bay Lightning.
And we talked about this, and you talked about Tampa wanting to retool. If they win the Stanley Cup, it would be a great opportunity for Stamkos to step away and say, okay, you know what, I won my cup, and now it's time for me to go somewhere else. But the biggest thing about Stamkos is the salary. And you and I talked about it, him ending up in a place like Detroit, because Detroit has tons of cap room.
Well, don't blow my big surprise.
Oh, okay. Tons of cap room, and they would be a great place to dump the salary, right?
Yeah, so as you guys have seen, there is no tea tonight. Yeah. Brandon let us down.
Ball again, sorry. I was getting party hats.
He was busy getting party hats. He literally said that. I'm like, hey, where's my tea, man? He's like, you want me to go back and make some?
I would have. We had time.
But anyways, he had brought up if Steven Stamkos is to move on, and I think it's a very real possibility. I've also heard that Killorn's probably on the move. They just don't have... he was just typing he's going to Detroit. So Tampa just doesn't have room anymore with the salary cap. Even with guys taking discounts like Sergachev, Braden Point's up. There's a ton of guys that they really need to pay. Stamkos being older, injury prone all the time now. I'm not sure what he's making, but I'm sure it's in the 10 region.
I'll find it.
Brandon's going to look it up real quick. Detroit can't take everybody. They just took Mark Stahl's salary on, so I think Detroit's just looking for these value deals right now. So maybe Stamkos doesn't go to Detroit this year.
$5.5.
He's making more than that.
I got $5.5 million US.
That's his salary, but what's his cap hit? He was
signed to an 8-year contract, $68 million.
So what's
annual average salary of $8.5 million?
So $8.5 million is his cap hit. So that's a big chunk that they can get off the books if they can move Stamkos. Obviously, it's not going to be a deal where making it interesting. Yes, it's not going to be a deal where Tampa's going to have to pay to get rid of him. I think he still has value. If you guys have any idea what happened with this Mark Stahl deal, so Mark Stahl gets traded with a second-round pick. I thought they gave up a second-round pick. I had to go back and read it again. With a second-round pick to Detroit for nothing. Future considerations. Brandon and I were having a good chat before this started, and we're like, when you actually see a trade go through nowadays, have you ever seen like Toronto gets this guy, and a pick, and going the other way, was that future considerations that we talked about. They never talk. It never comes up again. It's just one of those things. Basically, it's a way of saying thank you for taking them.
Yeah, you scratch my back, and I'll
that's
scratch
right.
yours down.
So Detroit's done this before. They offloaded Datsyuk's contract to Phoenix, and then he retired. I think it's shady pool, but I think it's just good cap management too. So Mark Stahl, who is grossly overpaid for what he does now. 5 years ago, when he signed his deal, probably a sweetheart deal or a decent deal. But New York, they're making room, folks. We'll get into NHL trade talks here and free agent talks, but New York's going to make a splash.
I don't even think that Detroit even cared about the Mark Stahl thing because they're going to keep him for a year or two and then whatever. I think Detroit wanted the pick. They wanted because a second round pick packaged with that. Now you're going to get a decent prospect in the second round, and let's be honest, Detroit, they're going to be picking early for the next couple of years anyway, as they're, quote, rebuilding. So they're going to get a decent pick from in the trade, and then they're going to be able to kind of get into, you lower the cap room because you get these entry-level deals for 3 years.
Well, that pick coming back from New York, with New York going to be vastly improved with either trades, free agent signings, the fact that Lafreniere is going there, they already have Capo, Panarin. They're set up. They got good goaltending, couple really good young defensemen. New York is on the rise, folks. So I see that second round pick being like mid to higher, between 15 and 32 or 31, whatever it is. So it's going to be a mid to late second round pick. I have the Rangers making the playoffs next year before the season even starts. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but. Back to Stamkos. We kind of rambled on. But Stamkos, in my opinion, second round this year might be it's a very deep draft. Yeah, so they've talked about it being a deep draft this year. Teams with a lot of picks are going to have a lot of value come out of this draft.
Detroit has a lot of holes to fill. If they're actually going to be competitive in any way, shape, or form, they need a ton.
So here's the thing, though. I was looking at it the other day. I know Montreal has a ton of picks, and Bergevin's been stockpiling these. They got four second-round picks. They got a first and 4 seconds. So a second-round pick buys you an NHL defenseman now.
Yeah.
So realistically, a lot of people were talking, I got to save this for the trades or I'm going to lose it all. But anyways, we'll save this for the trades that are coming up in the fifth segment here. But back to Stamkos. I'll get back to it.
Okay.
But back to Stamkos that can actually take his contract on, and a couple teams that are willing to do it. Detroit is number one on my list because of the connection with Yzerman.
Yeah.
I think Steve Yzerman would take Steven Stamkos. I think the Sarnia connection is there with it being close to where he played junior. Yeah. It's a mild thing, but it counts.
It makes sense for Detroit to take them because really Detroit's going to do nothing.
And they have no stars.
Yeah, they're going to do nothing for the next
So when
couple
you
of years.
finally get fans back into the stadium, you're going to need somebody there to sell tickets. And they have nobody right now.
You know what, though? But it'll be interesting because Detroit's picking fourth. I was looking at potentially who Detroit could take, and Jamie Drysdale is one of my thoughts of Detroit taking. He's going to be a stud. So, I mean, any of the first 6 picks, when we talk, we'll talk during our draft show, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take Drysdale, fourth overall. And
there's a guy that is rising in the draft forecast.
That scares me. I hate that. I hate when that.
There's a guy that is extremely hot right now, and he's rising in the draft forecast that is going to move into the top 5. And I'm going to drop that name on you, and I think it's who Detroit might take at 4. I think he was going to be like a mid-first rounder, but he's moving up a lot.
Nail Yakupov.
No. I think it's going to go Lafreniere. I think
Byfield.
No. I think Strutzel is going to go second,
really?
And then Byfield. Yes.
Wow.
I think that's going to be the shock of the first round, that the 2 and 3 switch.
Huh.
It happened a couple years ago. Everybody thought Kotkaniemi wasn't going to go to Montreal. It was going to be Brady Tkachuk or Zadina, and then boom, they picked the center. So
you mentioned that Detroit.
My hat's going crazy.
You mentioned that Detroit was a team that would be able to pick Stamkos up for them to dump. What's another team that you're thinking off the hop?
Off the hop for Stamkos? Well, it'd have to be a team that has a ton of cap room. A team that could probably use them, but I'm not sure if they have the cap room. But They do have a ton of young talent. A team like Minnesota, always looking for offense. They also just got rid of Koivu. They've been moving some contracts out.
What's left on Parise's contract?
A lot.
Yeah.
So I think Parise and Suter both signed 10-year,
Yeah,
like $10 million, like it was $100 million deal each.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably about year 7 or 8 on those, so they got some time. But Nashville might come into play because it's one of those things. I hope to God it's not a team like my team, Montreal, because I honestly think Steven Stamkos is done. Panthers not move. Okay.
I thought Florida too. I was thinking Nashville and Florida.
So I don't think they deal him in the division, even though we're talking Detroit.
Yeah.
I think Detroit's number 1 because of the Yzerman connection, but I don't think he stays in the East, folks. I think he goes west. I don't know where he's going, but I think he's headed west.
If he goes west, he'll be.
He could go to LA.
He'll be injured more often than he is now.
He could go to a team like LA, who desperately needs star power still, trying to sell tickets out there. Seattle, yes. So Steven Stamkos may be the golden goose to start things off in Seattle, like Marc-Andre Fleury was with the Las Vegas Knights.
Yeah.
Seattle is my dark horse to take Steven Stamkos. Obviously, such a deal would have to take place. I believe they can start trading at the trade deadline this year because they'll have picks to trade, obviously. But I think that's what's in place, and I think it'll be one of those things where Seattle takes a boatload of picks, not to take players from certain teams like Vegas did very smartly.
Yeah.
The blueprints there how to do it, but I think they use some of those picks to bring in a guy like Stamkos.
Makes sense.
But how crazy is this? Stamkos starts with Tampa next year, gets traded at the deadline to Seattle, and doesn't play anymore for the year. That's crazy to think.
Yeah.
That your year's over, basically. And I can't remember if that happened to anybody with the Vegas Knights. I can't remember if anybody got, like a roster player got traded.
I don't think so.
It's interesting, though, because, like, basically, your year's done.
Yeah.
Crazy. Moving on. Kids in sports. Something that, now that I have a son, my wife and I have talked about it. What if Nova wants to play sports? So those of you out there that have kids, how do you feel about this? Maybe I'll let you start this one. How do you feel about kids in sports?
I have 2 11-year-old girls, twins, obviously. And we started them in gymnastics at 18 months, where they were doing, and it's just to get them physically active, just to get them flexibility. They already, they're babies, they're pretty pliable. You can bend them any which way. Coming from a family where I played sports, I always have been physically active, and I would always want my kids to be physically active as well. So, yeah, it's kind of a necessity that I think that my girls play sports, simply because being on a sport teaches you a whole whack of skills that you generally don't get if you're just in a classroom, for instance. It teaches you teamwork, it teaches you dedication, teaches you goal setting, teaches you how to just a whole whack of things, being able to lose. Because you know how sometimes when you see kids and you hear the word no and they freak out, kids who have played organized sport generally tend to do better, I think, one in school and I think in life, because they're used to, they get resiliency from it. They know how to rebound. They know how to, just sucked in my own hair. That's gross. They know how to rebound. That was pretty gross. They know how to rebound when things don't go their way. And I think that those are skills that everybody needs to be able to have. Now, do I agree with participation for everybody? Like participation in trophies and medals and stuff? No, I don't, because you play a sport to try to win. And you build your team and you build the skill, and if you know you're getting a trophy at the end, what's the point of, competing? So yeah, so I very much am a pro sport for kids, with the exception of football. That's the only sport that would really scare me, is football for boys. Because boys are very rough, very tumble, they wrestle, and they end up, you get when testosterone starts to flow out on some place where it's highly competitive, it can become dangerous. Particularly because boys nowadays are much larger and much faster than they have been. You get hit by one of these kids, you can do some serious damage to a child. That's the only sport that I would be apprehensive to let my kid play, but I don't have sons to play football, so it doesn't matter.
So, the short answer for me, will my kid play sports? The short answer is no. So I'm going to tell you why. There's a huge distance between playing sports for fun and playing sports competitively. When I finally got cut, because my dad didn't make enough money anymore for me to play travel baseball, I went to house league baseball just because I did enjoy playing the sport.
Sure.
Being a top level baseball player for a very, very long time, basically my dad couldn't afford to drive me to Windsor to play for a special team. He lost his job at the factory. Mom's a bartender. It just wasn't possible. They weren't driving me every day to Windsor to practice through the summer.
Makes sense.
When I got put onto a house league team, that was it. So there's just too much of a discrepancy between playing for fun and playing competitively. And if I couldn't play competitively, I just checked out. So if I wasn't playing against the best players, I couldn't do it anymore. So if they could make the fun league a little more competitive and serious, where you're actually I get that you're supposed to do it for fun, but you also have to get something out of it more than just having fun. I get your exercise, but really, I had kids on my team that just literally sat down in the outfield. We're 15, 16 years old at this point. They're literally sitting in right field. Like, I see that, and I'm like, I'm done.
So are they there because
the parents are
forced
making them
to be there? And that I was going to say that one of the worst things about organized sport is the parent fan base.
Okay, so I had a kid on my team. I had a kid on my team whose mom made him play baseball. He was quite shy. Like I was friends with him. Like I tried to help him along. But his mom made him play baseball because he really enjoyed it on Sega. Okay, the kid's got zero athletic ability. You could really tell. And it's just one of those things where I'm wasting my time here. I remember playing at Rotary Park, and all my friends from high school were at the fair. The fair is going on right next to you. If anybody out here remembers, men's league or whatever you want to call it was on Friday nights. There was a 6:30 game and an 8:30 game. Had to play the 8:30 game that night. So all my friends are at the fair, and I'm like, can I just leave? Like, really? Can I just up and go? It's just, there's just too much of it. There's too much separation between if you can be competitive and play for your entire sports career competitively, the answer is still no. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm 38 years old now, played sports my entire life, up until I was 35 when the doctor finally said, no, you're done.
Yeah, but that goes two ways, because I played sports my entire life too, and I'm 39, and I feel like I'm in the better shape than I've ever been. So I really think it all depends on... I get that. But when you're as big as me, and you put that much pressure on yourself, I'm just broken. Like I have a hard time getting out of bed every day, and it's like that for guys maybe my size, even professional athletes. Like they break down. It just happened a little bit sooner than me because I was such a bigger guy. Right.
And I foresee my son being a big dude too. He's got ginormous feet, and he's 3 months old. He's going to be a big kid. So if he gets into sports, and mind you, I never played football. I never even had the hits or anything like that. It was just baseball, mostly baseball. Honestly,
repetitive injury. That could be repetitive injury, right? Though, doing the same thing.
I'm telling you,
I'm a pitcher. Were you not?
Yes, I was a pitcher. I'm telling you guys this right now. I was talking to Cindy laying in bed the other night. I think 2 nights ago, and I said, I haven't had any problems with my arm lately. And I said, winter's coming. I am so, your Tommy John here, whatever you want to call it, your tennis elbow.
The tendon, yeah.
The tendon there. I can't golf anymore because it's about to snap. Right? So it's one of those things where, yes, I did dodge a bullet not playing football. I didn't dodge the hatred from high school for not playing football. Every day when tryouts were going on, people that I considered friends are calling me a loser, everything in the book, because I'm literally the biggest, most talented guy in the school. I went out to one practice, okay? And I'm telling you right now, one of the guys that I played sports with went on to be a CFL athlete. You guys can figure it out probably. I'm not saying I was as good as him, because he was a serious, talented athlete, but you couldn't tell us apart.
Yeah.
Like at that age, he just wanted it a little bit more.
Right.
Right?
I think there has to be at least a little bit of push to get kids active, because they have to understand that playing sport can be fun as well. And I get that, if you're 15 and you're just checked out, I get that. But you got to introduce them to it. Otherwise, what does the life look like for them getting older? What are they going to do to be phically active? It's going to be more unhealthy for them, I think, as they get older.
I have an answer for that. I have an answer for that. So, I'm not joking. For those of you that know me, there's a few that might be watching that might know me. I'm a phenomenal dancer.
You should wear that hat, man. Dancing.
I am a phenomenal dancer. I have unbelievable rhythm. Okay. Tried to go through to school for comedy writing performance. Talented in dramatic arts.
Sure.
It's one of those things like I can carry this conversation. Like I'm very outgoing. I'm a good dancer. So I actually want my son to do competitive dance. It's still an athletic thing.
Sure, it's still physically active.
It's still a physically active participation thing. And if he doesn't do competitive dance like his old man did, I wasn't competitive, but I probably would have won a lot of competitions if I'm being honest.
What is the dance of choice for you?
I usually go ground and pound with my bad boy moves.
I thought you were going to say like salsa.
No. I can do anything, man. I got it all going on, trust me. But really good dancer. But anyways, with Nova, my son, it's going to be competitive dance. I'm not going to push him towards that, but I'm going to dance with him and see if he likes it. And like, hey man, you want to do dance? We can do this.
For sure. And if he sees you do it, it'll be something that you guys can both.
Alex Kurlick, see me dance at weddings. It is. I have a good friend, Kevin, who I don't. He subscribes to the channel, but I don't know if he watches it all. But this is how good we are. On the fly, one night we're at Jersey's. I don't know if you guys remember Jersey's or not, but Love Shack comes on, and the Love Shack, and it goes boom, boom. So he literally laid on the ground, and I'm like, I'm gonna defibrillate him while he's on the ground, and he'll go boom, boom, and he starts coming up like a zombie. That's how creative we were on the fly. People in the crowd are like, did you see that? We had a famous routine for Dancing Queen. Alex might remember that. I would literally carry him through the air, both 250 to 300 pound guys.
So I gotta know, are you a fan of Footloose and Dirty Dancing, the movie?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I dance cool. Okay.
All right.
I can jazz, I can blues. I got smooth dance skills. Robot, if I want to break things down, but mostly my bad boy on the mat type stuff, like breakdancing and handstands and headstands.
That would be impressive to see. I've never seen that.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's one of my favorites.
Next topic.
I did want to say that if he didn't get into competitive dance, the only sport that I will let him do, where I will encourage him, is gymnastics ribbon. That's it.
Gymnastics ribbon. They don't have that here. But
going back to the conversation about him saying that gymnastics was a dangerous sport, and I kept doing this the whole night with the ribbon.
There's a lot of interest.
But I get it now because he said his daughters do gymnastics. So he's just a concerned parent.
She did do gymnastics. She's now an acro.
Who is I'm nude?
I don't know.
Try and keep it classy, but...
Okay, we are talking NHL trades right now.
NHL trades. So we touched on this a bit. I think you asked me earlier on 4.5. Brandon has challenged me.
An over/under.
Over/under 4.5 trades on draft night. I'm gonna say over. If I can factor in the night before the draft, I would say way over. I think we're going to see the majority of the action take place the night before the draft or a few days before the draft, starting probably tonight after the Cup might be decided. We didn't even mention that. We didn't even mention the fact that the Cup might get handed out tonight. I don't think it will be. I think it will go 7 games just because of rating. It's all about this, folks.
They got to win it for Stammy tonight.
It's all about this, guys. It's all about the money. Trust me. There's more money in 7 games than there is 6. I don't need to explain that to you. I don't think.
And they need the money.
They need the money bad.
Did it go overtime today?
No overtime, but I'm guessing Game 7 will go to overtime, which will be very exciting. If you watch it, I don't watch it, so I don't care.
All right.
I haven't watched a single minute of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
I haven't seen any of it either. It was just the highlights and just looked at the stories.
Yeah, so I checked out when my team's done. I don't cheer for another team anymore. I follow it. I read most about it. I don't even watch highlights really, but I do talk to a lot of sports reporters that. Like we were talking earlier, I did talk to one. I won't mention them,
yeah.
But some behind-the-scenes stuff going on. I did hear from a sports reporter that Montreal's in discussions with Calgary out of nowhere. I won't say too much, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who.
It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But I'm hearing that. I won't say too much, but a former Calgary draft pick might be heading back to Calgary.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you know who I'm talking about?
I'm thinking former Calgary draft pick heading back.
The Montreal Canadiens pried Paul Byron off of waivers quite some time ago from the Calgary Flames, and since then the Calgary management has regretted it, and Paul Byron might be on the move. That's just a minor deal, but it has to do with some other stuff. It's 1-0 Tampa right now. Okay, I don't know if that's something that happens now or happens before the next season starts, but I think it may happen before the draft. Montreal is going to make. I follow Montreal more so than anybody else.
Oh, they're your team.
But I think a lot of deals are going to happen. The New York Rangers. We just talked about Mark Stahl being traded with a second-round pick. I honestly believe the New York Rangers. This is more of a free agent type thing, but I believe that Alex Pietrangelo is going to the New York Rangers. I think they will give him around $9 million a year, and it'll be a done deal.
Wow. Really?
You got to overpay to get guys in New York because it costs so much to live there. Although most of them live in New Jersey, which is, I was going to touch on that, but I didn't want to talk about Montreal too much. I was talking to a sports reporter today about what's it going to cost to get Laine in Montreal. So he asked me, and I said, Montreal's always been in this position that they kind of refuse to trade what they consider their top prospects. But going back to the days when they were probably a cup contender early in Carey Price's career, when they could have had guys like Marian Hossa come over, and they kind of dropped the ball because they wouldn't give up a guy like I can't remember who it was at the time, but Steve Thomas's kid was the best prospect they threw out. You know, Christian Thomas. This is like, we'll give you Christian Thomas and a first and second round pick. And Pittsburgh jumps in with 2 guys that you don't even hear of anymore, and the same picks, and end up getting them. So it's one of those things where if Patrick Laine is seriously available, and there are rumors that he is available, but they don't know how. No cap room in Toronto, that's correct. Nobody's going to Toronto, and if they say they are, it's all BS. But anyways, actually, I will touch on that before I get off topic to quite a bit. I will touch on the Toronto Cap situation first. I think Cap might be leaving Toronto sooner than you think.
I think you'll see some trades where they'll trade for lesser players for less money. I think is what you're going to see.
I had a really good conversation with Al, who frequents the store here. Big Toronto fan. The problem with Toronto is that they have to trade away all their depth, all their decent players, just to make room for a defenseman that's going to be a journeyman. Frederik Andersen gets traded at the draft. That's a good example.
That's what I was thinking of too.
But who replaces him?
Oh, I no idea.
So there's been rumors that Frederik Andersen gets traded for Matt Murray. Like, are you really you're just moving sideways there?
Yeah, it's a lateral move. And how long are you going to keep Matt Murray? He's 26.
It's just to appease the fans. Like, we did something.
Yeah.
If Toronto wants to make a splash, they trade a guy like Mitch Marner. That's what they got to do.
What do you package for a Marner?
Marner would get you a team's best prospect on forward and defense probably, and a first-round pick. And if they want anything more than that, you just say enjoy your cap hell. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do, because he's not a number one guy, folks. He's a top winger, but he's not the best player on any team in the league if you move him out.
Those big four, he's the one that's probably the most expendable too, I would think. Right?
I would think, because nobody wants Tavares because of that contract, and Matthews is their best player, so you don't move him. Although, if I had the opportunity,
that's me.
Oh, if I had the opportunity to trade either one of them in this order and for reasons, Tavares is one because I think he's a loser, and I've said it 1,000 times on this show. I think Tavares is a career loser. He will never win the big one, and not to mention that Toronto hasn't won a playoff series since what, 93 or something like that, or no, 2003 maybe.
Yeah, long time.
It's crazy, and they're paying all these guys. So one to get rid of would be John Tavares. John Tavares is your future buyout. That's what he is. Number two to get rid of would be Austin Matthews, because he would give you the biggest return, and I think he's leaving during free agency anyways.
I don't think he's sticking around either. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
He's probably out the door.
So Austin Matthews trade rumors are going to start to heat up in the next year or two, because it's going to be like, oh, we've tried to sit down with Austin to give him an extension, but he doesn't want to talk till the end. Your hands are tied, man. You got to trade a guy, because if he says that means he's leaving.
Yeah, Floyd, you're right. I see Nylander leaving too. I see there being a mass exodus out of Toronto because they had an opportunity to get it done and they didn't. And there's no point in staying. Like, really, there's no point in staying. You're overpaying on the taxes. You're getting less money for the contract that you have anyway because of the tax you're paying. And honestly, like, Toronto just doesn't have it. I don't trust Keith with the coaching behind the bench. They're not going to win.
They're not a good hockey team.
They're not going to win. I know.
Toronto will be surpassed by, I dare to say it, Toronto will be surpassed by the Montreal Canadiens in the standings next year. Montreal has gone out and very quietly built a team that can win in the NHL now. They have solid backup goaltending, which they desperately needed. They had literally 0 wins. I believe less than 5 wins from their backup last year.
You think they're bringing Caden Primo in? You think he'll be?
No, they went out and traded for Jake Allen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So Jake Allen's now he's a starter in the NHL. He was a 1A 1B situation. They've got him for a year. He's going to come in, be their backup, give Carey Price a 60-65 game work schedule now. You're going to see a better Carey Price now without having to carry the load. They've went out and quietly acquired a solid NHL defenseman in Edmondson for a 4th-round pick. Bergevin went out and looked in the what we call it, the bargain bins. But it's not easy to find NHL caliber defensemen. They just re-signed Petrie to a sweetheart deal. You guys are going to be like, wow, I can't believe Petrie's only making $6.25 when he's going to have 50 points for the next couple years and be like top 10 in defensive scoring. You'll be like, and you see a guy like Erik Karlsson continue on the decline that's making 11 or 12, like half the money.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, 10 seconds to go. We'll go in overtime on this, but here's the problem. He said Nylander's going to go somewhere. Okay, so you're going to trade away Connor Brown. You're going to trade away Kadri, so you have no grit left on your team whatsoever. Nylander's not bringing grit by any means. You've already traded Kapanen. Nylander, nobody's going to want that contract for what he does. Way too much money. I think the next guy out is Janssen, Andreas Janssen. $4.5 million. That's a affordable contract for a team to take. The guy can play. He's a 20 to 30 goal guy. He's a top 6 center on probably 10 teams in the NHL. Definitely top 9 on everybody else. But that's the guy that I would be targeting from Toronto is Andreas Janssen, and they're stupid enough to trade him. But back to the Line A situation. The over-under for we want to hear from you guys too. Over-under on trades to happen during, and I don't want to talk picks. I want to talk about players.
Yeah. Not picked.
4.5 players moving teams and NHL players, not prospects.
Yeah, in the first round.
In the first round. So are we going to see 4.5 players traded on draft night or not? I say, I would say no, because of the fact that everything is being done remotely. You don't have guys talking on the floor like you used to.
Sure.
You would have a GM go over to another guy and be like, hey, let's go on the bleachers. They used to do it all the time.
Yeah. And it was mentioned that this draft class is incredibly deep.
Yes.
So to get rid of some players for some potential like home run prospects that you can buy in at the entry level deal, doesn't make sense to trade a lot of those prospects away.
So everybody's talking Line A to Montreal. It would fix Montreal's one of biggest Montreal's concerns. They have 2 centers now with Kotkaniemi and Suzuki. Danault is going to be one of your best third-line centers in the league. He can also move up and down. If Suzuki's struggling, Suzuki plays third line. I think Kotkaniemi stays at 2 regardless because he's not as good defensively.
You think Danault passes him and goes into 1?
If Suzuki's struggling,
really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Danault has been their number 1 center in the past.
Okay.
He can move up and down. And Danault's up for a contract in the next year. So look for Philip Danault to have a massive season points-wise because he's playing to get paid. That's the way it works, guys. You got a few guys that are going to have big seasons in Montreal. Gallagher and Danault being 2. They both want to get paid. But aside from that, why Line A to Montreal does work and doesn't work. So I will go does work first. Obviously, they need scoring from the wing. They've got Gallagher pumping in 20. They've got Tatar probably doing the same. But Suzuki's probably going to be a solid 20 to 25 goal guy at center. But they need more goals than that. They need a guy with over 30 goals. I don't think it comes within. I don't think this year it's coming from within the farm.
Okay.
I don't think the guy's there to do it. In the future, yes, with a guy like Cole Caulfield, it's going to come from there. But he's 2-3 years off. But we're going to see, will Patrick Laine go there? I'm going to say no, because the Montreal Canadiens aren't going to trade away some of their best assets for him. And their best assets are on defense right now, and that's what Winnipeg wants. Winnipeg is still kicking themselves in the ass for giving up Ben Sherratt to Montreal for nothing. That's one of the deals that Winnipeg needs defensemen. They have a ton of forwards, a ton of talented forwards. They think Laine's a one-trick pony. I think Patrick Laine doesn't want to play in Winnipeg. I think Patrick Laine's tired of having snow tires on and chains on his tires. And Winnipeg, have you guys ever been to Winnipeg or Edmonton? Do you really want to live there?
Yeah.
No, you don't. So he wants to go to a city that's got some culture. I think if given the chance, Patrick Laine would say, yes, please send me to Montreal.
And it's also a team that's potentially set up to win soon.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Right?
That's the whole thing with Winnipeg right now too. They want to win now.
Yeah.
So Winnipeg wants to make a hockey deal, and Bergevin is really good at hockey deals. So that's one of the things where I say maybe it happens. But I talked to a reporter today, and he said, "What do you think?" Well, we kind of asked each other, "What do you think it would take to get Patrick Laine out of Winnipeg?" And he said it would probably take them their top defensive prospect, Romanov, which is a no-starter for Montreal, I believe. I think everybody's available except for Romanov on defense because he's their top defensive prospect. They don't have a ton of defensive prospects. I think it's Struble is the next guy. He's a freak, too, by the way. You haven't even heard of him yet, but wait for him. He's going to be one of the guys coming up in the next 2 years or so. But after that, it's really like we don't know. So I think you're going to see a guy. This is the package that I'm looking at. Max Domi
out of Montreal,
because that gives Winnipeg. Max Domi's making like $4 million a year in that range, so it's a salary dump. So Laine's obviously making more on that bridge deal that he signed.
Yep.
So it frees up a little bit of cap room for Winnipeg. Montreal may also take some dead cap from them, so it'll be Laine plus a dead player to free up maybe another $4 or $5 million for Winnipeg. So they got some mobility there.
Sure.
So that's also going to factor in with Montreal not having to send as much back because they're both doing each other a favor.
Yep.
And Cheveldayoff and Bergeron have worked together many times on deals. I think there's a friendship there, and I think they both want to win. If in a perfect world, I think they want to meet in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. they would work together on doing something like that, and then it's just free-for-all. But anyways, my deal had, I go back to prospects. I had Max Domi being packaged with Ryan Poehling, who was the World Junior MVP 2 years ago, American-born player. Probably won't play for them this year or have a limited role, but a good player in the future, but he's a prospect. The guy out of Montreal, now that they've signed better defensemen, and it brings me back to the Calgary deal that might go down. There it is, Victor Mete. So I think Victor Mete gives the Winnipeg Jets the mobile defenseman that I don't think they have. He's an NHL defenseman, probably a top 4, but definitely a top 6. You can't find NHL defensemen, but that wasn't it. So it was Domi, Poehling, or Mete. You don't get them both. You don't give up that many players. And then they said, can a deal get done without Montreal giving up their first-round pick? And I say yes, because they have 4 second-round picks. I think you package a pair of second-round picks in the deal, which are as good, in my opinion, as 2 late first-round pick or 1 late first-round pick, anyways. So you got a combination of Max Domi. He has to go because of the value in the trade, but it also gives them a player that they can sell that to the fans, folks.
Sure.
They can say, like, look, Domi still had like 15, 20 goals last year. Laine had 25, and everybody will think they won the deal, right?
Yep.
So they'll give a boatload of picks, two second rounders. I don't think their first is on the table because it's such a deep draft.
Yeah.
But I think there's a deal to be made there. Obviously, Winnipeg wants. They wanted Jeff Petrie before he re-signed, but that's a no-starter. Shea Weber. I would entertain trading Shea Weber. I think with the addition of Edmonton, you have your shutdown guy. He's not as good as Shea Weber, but he's as tough as Shea Weber. That's the whole thing, right? They wanted the toughness there. But that being said, I don't think Patrick Laine gets traded. I think they trade a guy like Ehlers first, or a guy like one of their lesser stars, to say the least. Like, they're keeping Connor, they're keeping Scheifele. They're loaded at center too. So the fact that they're looking for a winger by trading a winger is a little bit weird to me.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
But they need help on wing, and they need defensemen. They need defensemen bad. Bufflin basically retiring killed that team.
Yep.
That was a major point. And then obviously Tyler Myers leaving. A ton of stuff went down in the last couple years in Winnipeg. They're not set up very well on the back end. But Hellebuck has one of the best years in.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Yep.
They're not doing that bad, folks. Like, I think getting rid of Laine, I think he may be a cancer in the dressing room. Maybe
there are a few pieces that Winnipeg needs, right? If they can get a few key pieces, then they can contend. Will they win? I don't think so.
No, I don't think Winnipeg could win regardless.
No,
they could put Crosby on that team, and I don't think they're winning.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, folks. I don't think the league wants them to win. I don't think they're going to win. But as I promised, we went over a little bit. Well, we're in our 5-minute close right now, so I'll just. Weber is not washed up. Weber's just not the same player he used to be, but I wouldn't say he's washed up. He's an NHL defenseman, folks. Is he a top 2 defenseman? No, but that's why you have Jeff Petrie as your number 2 now. On the left side, you're probably going to have Sherratt with him. That's what they ran with in the playoffs, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sherratt and Petrie were great as the top pair in Montreal. Kulak, so there's the wild card. So Brett Kulak was mentioned by who I talked to. Brent Kulak was mentioned as the guy that Montreal might ship out. A guy they picked up from Calgary for nothing. Another bargain bin deal that Mark Bergevin made. I think Montreal moves 2 left side defensemen before the season starts. And back to that Calgary deal, they trade for the rights to TJ Brody. Boom.
Really?
Yes. TJ Brody, I believe, is an unrestricted free agent, but they can trade for his negotiating rights before free agency starts. And I think that's where you're going to see the Paul Byron deal come in, because Calgary is desperately needing wingers and offense.
TJ Brody in Montreal that'd be fun to watch.
But it also makes, if TJ Brody goes to Montreal, it also makes Victor Mete 1,000% expendable.
Yeah.
It's the same player basically, but Brody's got more upside, more offense.
Yeah.
But they carry the puck the same. That's what I'm getting at. And it also makes it so he plays the left side. It also makes it so they could put him with Weber, and Weber's got that safety net.
Yeah.
So there it is, folks. There's my big bomb. It's been rumored that Bergevin's been in love with TJ Brody for years. Obviously, Calgary's whatever. They wanted to keep him for a longest time, but I think he's finally on his way out of Calgary being a free agent.
I know, Alex. I know.
But I did want to drop another bomb on you. I said there's a guy that's frantically moving up in the draft. There's actually two of them. I believe it's Lapierre,
Okay.
from the Q, I believe.
I'd have to look and see.
Yeah, so he's fast on the rise. Wait to see his name get called. And the guy that's going to surprise everybody. He's not going to be the best player in the draft, but probably maybe the second best player when it's all said and done. And the guy that might go to Detroit as a surprise. Cole Perfetti.
He was rumored. I think there were a couple of guys that I had read about who were saying that they should take him.
Yeah, so they should jump the gun and take him because he was ranked around 10 or 12.
Yeah.
And they're saying Cole Perfetti might be the guy to jump as high as 4 now. It really depends on what Detroit wants. I honestly see Detroit maybe moving out of 4. Because it's a 3-player draft, and then there's a sharp drop off. If you can get the guy that you want at 8 or 10, and get an extra second round pick out of it, why wouldn't you do it?
No, it makes sense. It makes good business sense. Who's going to trade though? Who are you going to trade to? Who's going to try to get up to 4 with that drop?
Who knows
in the draft class?
Like there's all kinds of teams.
Like everyone have to do something magical, but in order for that to happen,
everybody's going to be very creative at this draft. I think that's something that we're going to see. I think for TV purposes, we may see a ton of trades. Maybe 4.5 is low because the NHL wants it to be a big success, especially with no fans and that kind of thing. Because it's supposed to be a fan engagement thing.
Who's going to boo Bettman?
They'll boo him. They'll filter in the boos. But regardless, as you guys know, we do have our draft special is next week on Tuesday night. Big change to that, actually, if you're watching right now. Do you have the graphics for that? As you guys can see, Hockey Card Night in Canada was also scheduled to take place on the 6th. That is being canceled. It's not being canceled, it's just being postponed. We just got word from Upper Deck and our distributors today that Upper Deck Team Canada Juniors will not be out by then. It's coming out the next day, which probably pushes back Upper Deck Premier as well. They're not going to put them both out the same day. So we're probably looking at doing the return of Hockey Card Night in Canada at a later date. It will be coming, but it won't happen during the draft night. It'll just be the draft party here with Brandon and I, and we're going to have some fun with everybody. But before then, we have Singles Night coming up on Thursday.
Yep.
Singles Night on Thursday. Date for Mount Rushmore. We still haven't even announced Mount Rushmore yet. We're looking to do one on location at Boombox out in London, so that might be the Mount Rushmore. I did send Dan and Alex a message earlier on. Hopefully they got that to find out a date for that. But Mount Rushmore is definitely coming up as well. That you guys need to get ready for. We're going to do the major 4 sports. Who's on your Mount Rushmore for the greatest of all time. But we also discussed another special we're going to air.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this one's going to be a lot of fun, too. We're gonna have basically the Mount Rushmore of sports movies. So we want to know don't say it yet. Everybody's going to start yelling out sports movies. But your top 3 movies for each sport, and then we're also going to do your top 3 of
of all time.
So there's going to be 6 categories. 3 for each of hockey, baseball, football, basketball, and then we're going to do sports that don't include those 4. So like boxing, obviously Rocky would come up.
Yep.
And then we're going to do the top 3 of all time, and we're also going to give out the actual award.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of those shows where we do the best sports movies of all time, similar to our Rushmore show that's coming. We want you guys to tune in for that. I think that's going to be a ton of fun.
And we will let you know as soon as we hammer out the dates.
As soon as we have dates, you guys will know, and we will make it a very special occasion. and we'll give away some prizes or something. We haven't given away any prizes yet, so we can start doing that on Out of Bounds. This was episode 6 from Mike and Brandon.
Yeah.
A lot of fun tonight. Some crazy hats. Good conversation. A lot of you tuned in. There's gonna be a lot of crap go down in the next week or so with the NHL folks. So stay tuned. Obviously football. Maybe next week we talk about who's still undefeated. There's still quite a few undefeated
teams. Could be undefeated. It could be a big disappointment too.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot of disappointments in the league right now.
Right now that's happening.
Just reading some final comments here. If you guys have any questions, awesome, Floyd. As long as you're still watching and getting those numbers up for us, that's cool. Make sure to tell your friends. If you guys haven't done so yet, hit the like button as well. It's a thumbs up. But definitely tell your friends to subscribe. We hit 100 subscribers about a week ago, so we threw the hats on today. But awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for making Out of Bounds such an easy show to work, and we'll see you guys Thursday night for singles night and next week for Out of Bounds and the NHL draft special.
See you guys.